I had a friend, Justin, who enjoyed playing import video games, whether they were Famicom games, maybe Japanese PlayStation games, or even import handheld games. So, in his honor, I'm going to do something I've been meaning to do for a few years, go through a box of my Famicom games and play them all for you. However, slight problem, there's corrosion on my Honeybee Famicom adapter, so I might have to use another converter instead. But that's okay, I got a bunch of them. It's not a big deal, it's not a big deal. I can't use my Honeybee? No. No. No! Honeybee! Well, that was not expected at all. Here they are, my Famicom games. I bought these at the Meadowlands Flea Market back in 2005, and now for the first time I'll be playing them. Fun times ahead! Fun. First up is this blue game. The artwork features a few planes there flying around. It also has these weird symbols there. Yeah, these. I don't know Japanese, so I'm not sure what it all means. Oh, 1942! I've heard of this one. It's the classic Capcom World War II vertical shooter that helped redefine the shooter genre and helped nudge it away from the plethora of space shooters from the past. As an American plane, the goal is to take off from an aircraft carrier and destroy all the Japanese planes in your path until you get back to the carrier at the end of the level and land. It may seem primitive with very few different enemy types and power-ups, but it's still fun and definitely playable. And we'll ignore the fact that the music sounds like a hyena that swallowed a referee whistle. But here's a strange question. Why would Capcom, a Japanese company, produce a game where they were the enemy you were destroying? That's some real deep-seated World War II guilt going on. What was the sequel? A Hiroshima atomic bomb targeting game? So, just how playable is this game without having to understand Japanese? 5 out of 5. Completely and totally playable. Next up is a game that I can only wonder what it is. If I had to guess the title from the cover art, it appears to be Frowny Parted Hair Man and the Quest for the Golden Squeeze Toy. Alright, after a random cutscene opening, we have what appears to be a game in the Goemon series. You know, that guy from the Mystical Ninja Super Nintendo and N64 games. Yes indeed, this is the first console Goemon game. Ganbare Goemon. Oh wait, there's an exclamation point. Ganbare Goemon Karakuki Dochu. So it's a top-down action game where you bop random people on the head and molest innocent women for points. It seems like a fun game full of exploration, but you're going to have to know your Japanese in order to get very far, I think. Speaking of Goemon, well, it's him again! And that looks more like the mystical ninja we all know and love. This one is an action RPG called Ganbare Goemon Gaiden to Tenka no Zaiho. Not sure how they fit all that in the title screen. So you start the game off with what I hope is just a game asking you for your name. If not, this will be real quick. So there's Goemon smoking a pipe. Oh no, think of the children! A guy dressed in white comes in and tells you some stuff. It could be the story. It could be a recap of Walking Dead. Who knows? Who cares? I hate zombies anyway! And because he's telling you spoilers, the dude apparently gets struck by lightning. Goemon's sailing away. Now you're part of some stage show? The guy on stage looks like Gilbert Godfrey. Finally, the game begins, and no, this isn't playable for an English audience. Sorry for all those big Goemon fans out there. Astro Fang, which I hope is a game about the Jetsons' dog as a vampire. But no, it's a racing game a la Road Blasters, where you have to drive and shoot enemies. The gimmick here is that you can switch between the car to a smaller, I guess more maneuverable little smart car looking vehicle. But it can't shoot your enemies, so why bother? There are no driving sound effects unless you turn off the music, and then it sounds almost exactly like Rad Racer. And speaking of that game, that's pretty much how Astro Fang plays and controls. I wonder if the pause trick works to save time here as well. What's cool about this game is that there are some separate paths on the map, and you can choose to go either left or right when the road splits, the same way it does in Outrun. There are also some handy-dandy shops where you can purchase more fuel and weapons for your car. And then you come to this boss vehicle with a face on it? Really? Introducing the 2014 Subaru Surly. So not only is Astro Fang a fun game, but yes, you'll have no problem playing it. Here's Arkanoid, the most famous breakout type game that's not named Pong or Breakout. On the surface, the Famicom version appears to be the same as the NES one. You move your paddle back and forth to bounce the ball around and destroy all the colored bricks to move on to the next level. What makes this game interesting are the different layouts as well as the power-ups you can get, including slowing the ball down, splitting the ball into 3, a laser gun, and even extending your paddle, for those that just can't get it done with the smaller one, if you know what I mean. Get it? Dick reference? Alright, let's see if the Arkanoid Valve spinner controller works on the Famicom version of the game. Oh, it doesn't seem to be working. How can I possibly be expected to play Arkanoid without the spinner controller? No! Arkanoid! How does this keep happening to me? The shame about the Famicom version is that it is not compatible with the NES Valve controller, which is really the only true way to play the game, because using a regular controller reeks. But it's a lot more difficult to get the Famicom version of this game anyway, so what the hell am I even going on about? Just get the US one! Castle Excellent, the third in the Bill and Ted trilogy. This game was published by ASCII, responsible for this game and every symbol you can type on your computer. Ah, this is Castle Quest on the NES. The adventure game that has you navigating through a multi-room castle, battling knights and other enemies. As the prince, in his fabulous Three Musketeers hat and cape, the player must seek out different colored keys in order to unlock the matching doors to proceed. There are also elevators, treadmills, traps, and other obstacles that must be navigated. The prince also has a sword, which is as long as a toothpick and half as useful. This is a harmless game that's sort of fun? Maybe? If you don't count the psychosis you'll be suffering from by having to endure the short, overly happy, constantly looping music. What is that, polka? Ska? Polka ska? Last is Voltguard 2 Electric Boogaloo. This is a simplistic but pretty fun shooter. The first thing you'll notice is that the graphics aren't really well defined and a little simple. Also, the enemies seem uninteresting in shape and design, like these spinning black and white cylinders and what appears to be killer tortilla chips. Oh, scary Mexican food! Deadly tortillas! Ah! Oh. The good news is that the game is very smooth and has some decent animation when it comes to the enemies. What's interesting about the game is that your ship loses energy the more you fire. When you have the normal weapon, that's not a problem so much, but if you have a more powerful weapon upgrade, your ship's energy will decrease at a faster clip, forcing you to use a little strategy and conserve your shots a little bit. What's cool is that the levels are selectable, and you can input your initials to see where your score stacks up, giving the game a little bit of a score attack feel. Until you realize that the game has no battery save, and so your scores will not remain when the game shut off. Oh no, all those long Voltguard 2 practice sessions were for nothing! Thanks for joining me as I finally took a look at my box of Famicom games. Yeah, they're there and they're dusty, but I finally got to play them. Be on the lookout for Famicom games out there in your travels, because a lot of times they're cheap, and there's a lot of good games that came out in Japan that never came out in the US, and there's some rare titles that were in the US, but in Japan they were pretty common, or a lot more common, so they're cheaper overall. That said, Justin, if you can hear me, thanks for being a good friend, and thanks for sharing all the games that you loved with everyone out there. Next time out, I'll take a look at Famicom multi-cart games. So, take care, everybody. Where the hell am I?